This is what happens when you don't do it professionally.
You just
So
need a little bit of strobe lights in the back. Different colored lights.
this ain't the DJ show.
Right, you're an IT guy. I forgot.
Like
We can
who
get
was our guy? Rick Dees
Uh-huh.
in the weekly top 40.
Right, I remember that. And I even remember there was a program that I remember in the 80s. I always talk about it, even though I heard it on the radio. It was Red Neckerson.
Yeah.
This is Red Neckerson here. Don't you remember that on the radio?
I think I missed that one.
Oh, okay.
I think back then the name would have kind of thrown me off.
Hi, this is Red Neckerson here from Central Florida.
Nope, I didn't do the Central Florida stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, we lived in Central Florida.
Yeah, but we lived the East Coast.
I know. Well, okay. But it's still central on the East Coast.
It is. It is. So my junior achievement chapter was called Junior Achievement of East Central Florida. That's how they.
Oh, okay.
Because there was already a Central Florida in the Orlando.
Right.
So they should have said Junior Achievement of the Space Coast. That really would have.
That's right. That would be more specific.
Yeah. But I didn't get to make the name, so.
Okay. Well, you just got to go with the flow.
Yeah. Yes, you do. All right, let's go ahead and start here. I'm going to start the music and get us going. All right.
Sounds great. Looking forward.
Hello, friends. Uncle Marv here, and welcome back to Uncle Marv's Reunion Podcast, where I have reached back into the depths of time and pulled out yet another blast from the past. Tonight we have Miss Veronica Rudan. Veronica, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Marvin?
I am good. So I see that you overdressed for the affair.
No, I just thought that red would look good on the camera, so I wouldn't look washed out. We live here in the Great White North. We're not as tan as in down south Florida.
Listen,
what?
I had to work for this.
Well, I know, but our summer hasn't started.
That's a shame. Are you still getting snow up there?
No.
Well, that's good.
That is such I wouldn't call
such
it
a Southern question.
Yes. Like we don't all say a, and we don't say all about, but no, it's springtime right now. So the tulips are out in my garden.
Yes. So for those that do not know, Miss Rudan is living up in Canada.
Niagara Falls.
I was going to say near Ontario, but Niagara Falls on the Canadian border side. And let's first start with how long have you been there?
I have been in Niagara Falls, Ontario for 26 years.
Wow.
I know, time flies. I can't even believe it. And I moved back in Canada in 1996.
Okay, when you say back, were you there before you were in Satellite Beach?
I lived in Niagara Falls until I was 9.
Oh, okay.
And then my family moved to Miami Beach, North Miami Beach, in the late 70s. And then we lived there 5 years. And then we moved to near Satellite Beach after the 5 years in Miami.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So we need to kind of go back and paint the real picture here, because obviously I didn't know squat about you before, because I just assumed that you
were cool in high school walking around.
Well, no, because the bottom line is we talked about this when we caught up last week. I mean, I thought you were, what did I say? Russian?
Serbian.
Serbian, yes. I thought you were somewhere over there, and you said that, well, your family's from there.
Yeah.
But there was none of this Canada, Miami Beach.
Well, I actually, Serbian was my first language, if you must know.
Okay.
Even though I was born in Niagara Falls, I my grandmother raised me, and she didn't speak a word of English. So for the first 5 years of life, my family worked like 18 hours a day when they first
Okay,
started.
so you were born in Canada,
Yes,
so you can't claim to be from Serbia.
I never claimed to be from Serbia. My family, my father's from, actually, he's from Croatia, but he's Serbian, and my mother's Polish. But my first language was Serbian. I
Okay.
learned English when I went to kindergarten.
Okay.
Yeah,
In Canada.
in Canada.
So it was Canadian English.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's Canadian English, but it's funny. Your accent evolves over the years.
It does.
It's when I lived in Florida, I started to get a Florida accent, and then I went to school in Boston, and I sounded very Southern. It's like your accent really morphs when you're younger, and then when I came to Canada, they thought I had a Boston accent. So like I don't know.
Okay. So let's talk about how you got to the point where I met you, because for those that do not know, that are either watching the video or listening to the audio podcast, let me first say Miss Rudan is from what I consider my hometown, which is not really my hometown because I wasn't born there,
Mhm.
but I grew up for the most part in Satellite Beach. My dad was in the Air Force. We moved to Patrick Air Force Base, and I grew up going to Holland Elementary, Delora Junior High, and Satellite High School, which is where you and I met.
Yes.
But I don't remember when during that whole process we met. I remember you from Satellite. I don't remember much before then. So take us through that.
So I came to Satellite Beach in grade 9. So I went to Delora Junior High, grade 9 in that
Okay.
same complex, and then I went 10, 11, and 12 in at Satellite High School.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the process. So my family moved from Central Florida. I mean, from Southern Florida. They had a motel on the beach in Miami Beach in the late 70s, and then in 1982, it got rough on the beach after the Cuban refugees came in. They kind of moved a little more north, and they wanted a little bit more safety for the kids, like my sister and I. And they opened up they created a trailer park in Rockledge, Florida. It was called Americana Resorts. It was a trailer park on US 1, and that's why we moved to Satellite Beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up there, and I loved high school there. I thought it was the most amazing thing there since sliced bread. Like, I just thought it was an amazing high school, and I had a really, like, nice upbringing there.
Well, it was a nice place.
It was gorgeous, and now coming back to Canada, like, when my sister moved back, she moved back. She wanted to go to Satellite High School, but my family moved back to Canada, and the high school over here was not like Satellite High School. She was like enthralled with the school. She was like, "Wow, I want to be like my big sister. I want to be a scorpionette or a cheerleader." Like the whole, the football games, everybody showed up, which was pretty amazing. And
Okay.
yeah, and her high school here was a little bit different. They didn't have that.
The football team wasn't good.
No, the school didn't show up. It didn't have the team spirits or the pep rallies or the Latin days where you wore the toga. Like we had a lot of themes going on there.
We did. We had
To
we
make it
had a
kind of
lot of
fun.
stuff going on.
Yeah. I
So
remember belonging to the Latin club, and I think I was a slave for one day or something like that. I had to carry somebody's books. And do you remember that?
no,
No.
I was never a slave.
No, I mean, it's a Latin club. I wasn't a slave.
I was not in the Latin club.
Okay, well,
Okay. I wasn't that smart. Come
we
on
got
now.
we got we got auctioned off, and then we had to like do whatever the person that auctioned us off, like we
I
would
I mean, I
carry their
remember
books
that.
for a day or something, or walk on our knees in the hallway if they told us to.
Yeah. I remember all you smart kids did that. Stephen Powell, Karen Zek.
Right,
You
I
know,
remember those names. I
that
just
wasn't
don't
that
remember the
wasn't me.
okay, well, you're quite intelligent these days. You're coming off really intelligent.
That's just years of, practicing.
Mastery.
Yes.
They say if you do something like 10,000 hours or whatever, you become a master at it.
Yeah, you just
Expert.
tell everybody you're good at it and they start believing you.
Oh, like you fake it till you make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I'm this podcast expert.
That's amazing. That's awesome, Marvin.
So, what happened after high school? Because of course, that's, you know, the the place where most of us departed. Now, there's a huge group of the satellite folks that have stayed in touch, and they all went to either Florida or Florida State together, UCF,
Hmm.
stayed back home. They're, congregating back now in Melbourne, O'Galley, and hanging out and stuff. But people like me, I left
Right.
and I just disappeared.
I
I
know.
went
Well,
to
you're not
college.
disappeared. You're just in another place.
True. I hid for a while, and then started coming back. So now it's all about finding out what have people been doing for these last 35 plus years. So when you left satellite, what did you end up doing?
I went to the University of Florida for the first 2 years to do pre-pharmacy. I joined a sorority. I was a Kappa Alpha Theta. And then I had to apply to pharmacy school, and I applied to the University of Florida, but I also applied to Boston. My family moved the year that I went to University of Florida. The following year, my family moved back to Canada. But in Canada at the time, in high school, you had this thing called grade 13. So if I would transfer from Florida to Canada, because I didn't do grade 13 in Canada, I would like lose a year. So I thought I'd meet them up north, like somewhere kind of close by, but not in Canada. And I saw something at the University of Florida on the television, believe it or not, and said, "What's the best place in the United States to live?" And at the time, Boston was one of them. And I said, "Oh, in those days I didn't have a computer like in like 1986, 1987. So I looked it up and I found that Boston had two pharmacy schools. I'm like, let me apply. I want to be in the best city in the United States at that time.
Wow.
So that's how I ended up there. Like I checked it out and I saw the two pharmacy schools, and I applied to both. I got into both, but I picked the smaller one, like the more like specialized one. I just thought I'd get more attention,
Oh,
like if
I
I needed
see.
help and all that.
All right. So I have questions, but I have to say, did you notice your accent changing during that whole exchange there where you were talking about going from Florida to Boston?
Did I? I don't know. You tell me. Are you
I'm
talking to
just,
me? No.
what are we
Hey,
saying here? You're just
okay.
wicked smart.
Listen, I don't know. I got to get Shorty over here.
You got into two schools, eh?
Yeah, I got into two, not one, but two.
Had to have a backup.
I had Plan A and Plan B.
So pharmacy school. Now, we didn't
Oh,
study
boy.
anything. There was no pharmacy stuff growing up in Satellite Beach. So how did you come about
You
wanting
really
to be?
want to know the story?
I asked.
Okay. So the story is, uh, when we had a motel on the beach in Miami Beach, we lived in the motel. Okay. My family like bought a motel, but they couldn't afford a house. So we lived in the motel for like a couple
That
of
just
years.
that just doesn't sound right.
Well, no, like I guess my dad was an entrepreneur and he just, he thought he would get more opportunity in a business than a house at the time.
Okay.
And so we lived in the motel, and we had two adjoining rooms. Like my sister lived in one room, and then there was a connecting room with my parents' room, and it was like a little mini efficiency, like a refrigerator and a small kitchenette. And for the first year, while my parents were renovating the motel, there was a plaza across the street. So we went to Guido's Italian restaurant almost every night. We all gained 20 pounds that year going out to eat because my parents worked so hard. They didn't want to cook. They just went out to the restaurant, the Italian restaurant across the street from the motel. And then right next door was a pharmacy. And there was a guy, it was a pharmacy slash souvenir shop. And it was next to Winston Towers. And that pharmacy in 1978, 79, it closed its doors. It would open up at 12 o'clock, and the souvenir shop would be open for the public and for the tourists and whatnot. And my dad got to know the owner. He's like, "You got a pretty good life. He goes, "Yeah, I play my tennis game in the morning. I open up the door. I'm open for 4 or 5 hours. I handle all the apartment buildings there with all the repeats, like all the old women that had like, all their prescriptions." And then he closed it up, and the front store was open. He's like, "That's a good job. It's a nice, easy job. Maybe my daughter should go into pharmacy school." And that's
Really?
that's how I got in. Because I was going to be actually a dentist. And my father noticed when I used to play piano, like when I was younger. I mean, when my parents worked 18 hours a day, what else am I going to do? They didn't take me to camps and drive. You play the piano all day long, right? Like that's what
Yeah,
you do.
but you had the beach right there. You didn't go hang
No,
out
no,
down there
this was before.
before? Okay.
Yeah, this was before. You're right. I'm jumping a little bit. But I started playing piano in Canada, and then in Florida, I didn't have a piano until we got a house, and then they got me a piano.
Okay.
But I used to get neck pain all the time. I'm like, oh, can you massage my shoulders? Like, and my dad says, you can't be a dentist. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your back is always bothering you, even when you played the piano. He goes, pharmacy would be a better job for you. I'm like, okay. And that's how I got into it.
Wow.
Like kind of just by on the fly.
Okay. You startled me with the story because it started out with, I thought you were going to say, well, there was this pharmacy across the street that had this really cute guy.
No, it was an old man, but he played tennis in the mornings, and he just seemed like it was a very relaxed in those days, not like pharmacy is today, but in the old days it was pretty chilled and happy, like your local pharmacy, your local happy pharmacist.
All right.
Attended
So
school.
that was quite interesting. So you are still sort of in that industry.
I've done a lot of industries actually, but I've always stayed with pharmacy. I've just like branched off into a couple of like I had restaurants and like the music industry. I infiltrated in the restaurants and all that, and then my healing business also. So
And you're an author.
oh yeah, that's my latest. I wrote that book during COVID, right? Like how you started a podcast. I
Yeah.
wrote a book. I had a lot of time on my hands.
So the book sounds a little bit more glamorous than a podcast. So
Oh
what,
no, podcasts are
no?
great. Look at Joe Rogan, 20.
Okay. Well, we all can't be Joe Rogan and make, 100 million or whatever.
I know, but he has a podcast.
He does. But
Yeah.
he has access. So, my podcast started off with talking to, friends, family, and almost famous people.
Uh huh.
He talks to real famous people.
Okay, but
That makes it
everyone's got
easy.
to start somewhere.
True. That's why I'm starting this. I'm going to work my way up.
Exactly. The sky isn't the limit.
So I have you now, on the show. So you're almost famous. That'll help me. You're an author.
I'm an author of a book. I should show my book, but I gave it to someone. I gave my book to someone that wanted it.
Oh, well, there it is right
Oh,
there.
there you are so prepared, Marvin.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching the video, there she is with her book, From Drugs to Distant Healing. And Veronica Rudan in big, bold author type letters.
I actually co-authored this book, believe
Okay,
it or
but your name is first and bigger than the other names. So.
I know, but the other guy wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. He wrote 2 Chicken Soup for the Soul books. So his name was Raymond Aaron. He's a top 10. He's a New York Times top 10 best-selling author. So I co-wrote it with him.
Yeah, well, again,
but
your name's bigger.
Well, thank you very much.
So he wrote it with you.
Yeah.
So there it is.
I did a healing on him, and it talks about the healings that I do. But we're gonna save that for another.
Yeah, we will.
Episode.
But go ahead and at least let's talk about starting stuff during COVID, because what would prompt you to just write a book?
Well, I had learned this type of healing in 2017, and I had some miraculous cases like that occurred. And there's only like a handful of us, maybe a dozen of us in the world that do what I do. And my the gentleman who taught me this healing actually lives like 90 miles, like I think like near Daytona Beach. But he was like an aeronautical engineer, and he traveled all over the world and learned these different healing techniques. So he's not a woo-woo kind of guy. And I was very intrigued. I had heard about him for quite a few years on Facebook, and then he did not a podcast, but kind of like a podcast group healing session. And I had an ankle injury that I had for several years that I went you hurt your ankle and it doesn't get completely healed. And then, at that time I was geocaching with my kids in an area, and I went down a hill and I twisted my ankle like really bad. And I was nursing it for probably a year and a half, and nothing was really improving it until I did this like online podcast of this group healing, and I had heard about him, and he was just offering it as like an introduction. And lo and behold, like the next day, my ankle was like completely healed, completely, like after a year. And I was like, oh, it's gonna hurt again. No, no, it didn't hurt again. No. And then again, and then again. And he says, oh, I'm doing a special elite group. You have to pass the test in order to get into this group to see if you can do what I do. And it's in Sedona, Arizona. So he interviewed me, and there was 8 of us that came all over the world. Like one came from Peru, and the other one was from like Montana, and all over the world. And
Nice.
yeah, I was lucky to be a part of that and learn
So
what he does.
I want to acknowledge some people that we have watching live in the chat. And Anna Pacheco Snyman actually comments, wonderful book, a must read
Oh, thank
with
you.
a highlighter.
You're cute.
So interesting. All right.
Mhm.
So I should go ahead and do this and announce that. So far you're passing the test, by the way, Rudan.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
so
Thank you very much.
I had mentioned on an earlier show
Mhm.
that I am going to really spend some time working on my health, because about, I don't know, 7 to 10 years ago, when I finally stopped playing basketball, I said, you know what? I have spent most of my life being in shape, playing ball, and I'm done. I'm gonna take my time off.
Mhm.
Well, now I'm at the point where I, oof, that was a mistake. So I got to lose some weight. I got to get back in shape. I got to, plan to live another, 50 or so years. So I'm going to get healthy.
I agree.
And I have figured out that the only way to make myself do stuff is to hold myself accountable. And so I am going to find people that are living healthy lives and get them to help me by doing this podcast. So I will be branching off and doing some sort of healthy journey podcast. Miss Rudan has agreed to come on the show maybe once or more and help me out with some healthy living tips.
They say that health is the new wealth.
Yeah, well, if it paid, I would believe it. And maybe I'll write a book like you.
Oh, I'm sure you can write a book. It's less intimidating than you think. And I was kind of at first intimidated, but I went to a few seminars, learning about how to structure yourself and write a book. And it was actually pretty easy. It wasn't too bad at all. You'd be surprised. It's just getting your thoughts on paper.
Well, and you have to
So,
have time,
yes, you do.
because you got to have a lot of time.
But not
Now,
too much time. Sometimes we waste a lot of time as well. So it wasn't too bad.
yeah. So let's go ahead and get back to where you are now,
Okay.
because you are in Niagara Falls, Ontario.
Yes.
Have you met up with the Shillelagh girl?
The who?
Well, so I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It's one of the Bounds sisters. Do you remember the Brenda and Bridget, the twins?
Uh,
So Brenda Bounds, whose last name is now, I just say Shillelagh. It's Shilaki or something like that.
mhm.
She lives on the US side of Niagara Falls.
Really?
Yes,
And she went to Satellite High School?
she did.
Wow. Well, I think now that COVID is the restrictions are coming down, I'm gonna pass the border. Like we couldn't pass the border for like over 2 years. We were like on house arrest almost, really.
Well, and you guys were fighting, so you wouldn't let us in, we wouldn't let you in. I mean, it was this whole back and forth thing.
Actually, the Americans were a lot more easier. They're still a lot easier than the Canadians coming in.
Really.
So yeah, so for sure, I'd like to meet up with them.
I was hoping that we would kind of clamped down because all the snowbirds are still here. I see all
Mhm.
those Quebec plates,
Are
and
they?
yeah,
Yeah, well,
they're still here.
they come around if they come December, January, February, March, April, May, probably June.
They should be leaving anytime soon. Usually somewhere between Easter and Mother's Day, they start, filing out. So
Maybe after May 24 weekend. That's usually the planting season here in Canada, in Niagara.
May 2-4.
Yeah.
Why that
It,
specifically?
it just sometimes like in May we still get cold weather and things will freeze. So if you do your planting, it like any kind of vegetables or any kind of landscape planting or anything like that, then we just wait till May 24. Like after Memorial Weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I should ask, do you plant stuff too?
Not marijuana. No, I bought some shrubs and I'm waiting to plant them after May 24.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm nursing them right now. I'm putting a little bit of water in the pots until I can put it in the ground.
Oh my. All right. So Rudan, is there anything else that you think people should know that you've done here in the last 30 plus years when you
I opened up a restaurant that I'm really proud of. It was
yeah,
actually on the magazine. It was called Maryland's after Marilyn Monroe. And that was like my favorite. I had so much fun doing that restaurant.
is that
And
your glamour shot picture that we
it
have on
was,
here?
Marilyn Monroe did a movie in 1959 called Niagara. And that's when her career kick started her career. And just like Maryland's, this restaurant was overlooking the Niagara Falls. It was all in windows in a tower. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun doing it. I had like Frank Sinatra music and the Rat Pack music on the weekends in the restaurant. So like people would be having dinner and then all of a sudden you see these couples like sitting up and dancing in the middle of like the room. And I think Tina Veltri, she was the Scorpionette captain when I graduated. She made her way down to Niagara a few times, and she saw a couple of the places. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of nice to meet up with people that I hadn't seen in a very long time.
So I know that the glamour shot was from 2014. When did you actually open the restaurant?
I thought it was 2015. Was it 2014?
August 2014.
Yeah, so it was probably
Don't you have that hanging up somewhere right on your wall?
no,
We can all
no, not that big.
remind-
It was a magazine article just launching the restaurant. So we opened it up like in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is
And
it
then
still
we
going?
sold it before COVID.
You so okay. So that was
It
pretty
was
good
hard.
time.
It was very hard. A lot of restaurants closed during COVID, and just sustaining business for several, like closing for so many years was hard, because people still have to pay rent.
That is true. Yep.
Mhm.
That is true. So you sold that, you were doing the pharmacy stuff, you were doing your other businesses.
I had a Mexican restaurant and a salsa bar right afterward. And then my latest project is just I'm expanding a store, another pharmacy in Fort Erie, which is right over the border from Buffalo. So I have a business partner, and that's about it. I just kind of keep busy, keeps me out of trouble.
All right.
Yeah,
So we'll have you on one of the business shows here soon, how to be a serial entrepreneur.
but I'm not your typical one. You know how like some people are very efficient and all that. I'm efficient in my own time. I work on my own like momentum. I have a flow. I'm not as like nine to
It's,
five, and I gotta
there's
be.
nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing what you love and it's paying the bills and sustaining life.
And it gets done when like
Who cares what timetable it is, right?
right. It's not like I have to be there. If I don't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow.
Listen, a lot of stuff can wait till tomorrow, right?
It just puts a lot of stress, especially
Yes.
us women that are like middle aged. Like we need to minimize the stress and just kind of focus on the like top two or three things that's important. And if whatever can wait till tomorrow, it waits.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's why I'm still smiling.
All right. I've just written down that'll be the title of one of our podcasts that we do, Minimize the Stress.
Yes, very good. Ashwagandha, that's a good herb for stress. It helps with adrenal fatigue.
Okay, which language is that?
That's an English term. It's just
Oh,
it's a herb from India, and it balances like your hormones, and it supports your adrenals, which get stressed.
really?
Yeah, you're looking at me like I got 5 horns.
I'm just sitting here thinking I just got around to drinking ginger turmeric tea,
Oh,
and
that's
now you're telling
good.
me there's this herb from India that helps
Yes,
with
it's
stress.
very good. I mean, India, a lot of the stuff that comes out of India, like they're thousands of years old. Like meditation is really good with stilling your mind. By the way, that's in my book. And like when you still your mind, a lot of beautiful things start to happen. I call it magic.
And I have to thank Susan for spelling out ashwagandha so,
Yeah, there's
so
an
that I
H,
could
I
Google
think,
it.
in there, ashwagandha. But yes, Susan, you're
It's,
absolutely right.
also helps
And
with sleep.
and it also helps with stress and anxiety and increases your testosterone levels.
All right.
Not that you need it, Marvin. I'm just putting like as an
Ashwagandha.
FYI because even women need a little bit of testosterone.
Listen, as long as I don't have to take the melatonin,
You don't like melatonin,
I have no idea. I've seen other people take it, and
and it
it's
doesn't do good.
it's mixed results. Some people it works, some it doesn't, some it makes them feel funky.
You know what? We're all different. Certain
Yeah.
foods that are natural, just because it's good for you doesn't mean that it's good for me. You know what I mean? Like we have intolerances to things.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of us. Like we're all very different internally, externally, our personalities. I mean, it would make sense that there's not a magic bullet for everything.
But there is a magic bullet that makes wonderful shakes.
That makes it yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're good. You're real good.
See, I watch the shows. I know what I'm talking about.
Oh my god,
All right, Rudan. So let's do this. Let's end off the show.
Veronica.
Rudan.
Here's Rudan. Hi, Rudan.
So let's just do one final thing, and let me ask you in terms of remembering the beach. If you could go back to the beach and relive one of the most spectacular things you did while you were there, what would it be and who would it be with?
At the beach?
Well,
You mean
Satellite Beach. Yeah, just
oh, I
Satellite Beach.
thought you meant literally at the beach. Like I was thinking about the Holiday Inn on the weekends when we used to all
Listen,
hang out there.
this is a PG show, so I was
No, but we'd sit on the beach and watch the surfers. Like that was kind of fun.
Really? That's what you guys did? Was that during the summer?
I don't remember
Or
exactly.
during school when you guys would,
I think it was during school on the weekends, like on a
Oh, okay.
Saturday or something like that. But I did love the beach, and I love to body surf like on the beach. The beaches in Satellite Beach, the water is like stronger than in South Florida, like where you live, right? And the force of the water is stronger, so like you could do some great body surfing
Well,
there.
yeah, there's some nice coral ridges up there. There's the sandbar that's up there. Did you ever swim out to the sandbar?
Yeah, you were like right there out in your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I
Yeah.
loved it.
The guys would play football, and I don't know what the girls did, but
The girls would just watch the guys. Yeah, although now I was thinking I went out in the water pretty far. As you get older, sometimes like fear starts to set in, and I'm like, well, what if there's a shark out there now? God, what would I do? Like all this stuff you start wondering. But when you're a little bit younger, you're a little bit more fearless.
yeah, I mean, listen, they also weren't showing Sharknado stories on TV every
Right.
summer.
And on YouTube and on everything.
Yep.
You're right, Marvin.
Where there's like 1,000 sharks off the coast of Tampa right now, just
Right.
circling.
Yeah, like I wouldn't at that point. I think I'm just going to put my toe in the water. Forget about body surfing.
Yeah. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was a wonderful Uncle Marv reunion podcast with Veronica Rudan.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Marvin.
It's been fun. So we will be back again in a future show as she helps us on the Health Journal podcast or whatever I name it. and maybe we'll come back and do a recap as people start to say, "Oh, I remember Veronica. You should have asked her that." But you should probably have a bunch of people hitting you up on the Facebook, right?
I don't know. What do you mean hit me up? What do you mean by that?
Well, you do the messenger thing and, reach out and say
Oh,
hello and
yeah, for sure. I don't know the lingo. They hit me up. Like, I don't know what that means.
how do you come on? That was from years ago. Hit you up, holla.
I know. I'm an intelligent ditzy blonde sometimes.
You're
Okay.
too you're too smart for us. That's what it is.
No. Let's be humble. I wouldn't say that. I'm humble. I'm not like that. So, well, again, thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll end off the show here, folks. If you are watching and want to know how you can catch other shows like this, you head over to unclemarv.com and scroll through the previous episodes. If you go up to the right corner of that page, you can hit follow and select any of the podcatching apps that are out there, and you'll be alerted whenever a show comes on. It's not just video, it's also audio, so you can listen in your car, at the beach, anywhere, and hear these great shows. And that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back soon with another. And I bid you all a safe and happy week. Happy Mother's Day, belated to everyone out there. Hope you had a good Sunday.
Thank you.
And as I
that was
your
my
dog is wishing you a happy Mother's Day.
that was my audience.
All right, Rudan, stay with us as we do the closing video. The rest of you, thank you for watching and have a good night. There we go.
Is that good?
It wasn't so bad. That was great.
No. Was it natural? Like, was I natural?
Of course it was. Just ask the chat room, everybody. Susan, Anna.
I haven't seen the chat. I don't see the chat room here.
Newbie, did you click on the comments button at the top right?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Oh yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Oh wow. Carla Leon's Newbie. I don't know who these people. I have to look at these people up.
They know you.
I'm friends with Susan and Anna Pacheco. She's asked me some questions. She read my book, and I think she's related to Tina Veltri somehow.
Really?
Or maybe she's dating Angel Pacheco, and Anna Pacheco's the sister.
Listen, I'm not going to get in anybody's business here. We're still live. We're still live.
I just recognize these names.
Yeah, I know. Well, Anna is Angel's sister.
Yes.
But I don't know the
ins and outs.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it, Marvin, and you have a good night.
All righty, you too. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.